Stranger Things. There's a ton of reviews out there now about how it's all 80s fight and how it's awesome, and I love that aspect of it. Uh, One thing I wanted to point out, two things I wanted to point out. The only critiques of the show that I have are in some of the lines, the actors start their sentences with the word so. They didn't do that in the 80s, unless they're like continuing a thought, or if it was like, so what are we gonna do? Something like that. But today, there's this trend that people have started. That started out on message boards, as far as I know. Who knows where it started? But they'll start a sentence like this. So I saw this movie, or so Pizza Hut has such and such, or so this Western Digital Drive, oh, it drives me nuts. Okay, there, I said it. You're not supposed to start your sentence with the word so, and they didn't do it that much or at all in the 80s. Watch any 80s movie and they didn't do it. And then really, that thing that's caught on for since the mid 2000s. Really, I hate that too. Oh my gosh. Really? That's so stupid. They say that in there a few times, and they didn't say that. But if that's the only critiques I have, that's fine with me. It's an awesome show. They don't like play up the neon for some reason. Like the television show, that 80s show, the spin-off of the 70s show, they just hit neon so hard, and everything that was 80s ridiculous, or 90s, because let's face it, the 80s carried over into the 90s. They just exaggerate on so much. But in Stranger Things, it's realistic to the 80s. In the 80s, there was not a saturation of neon. Go back and watch any 80s movie. There's in every single 80s movie, you will not see a saturation. Watch Lost Boys. Watch I can't think of anything right now. Gotcha. Watch any teen movie. Breakfast Club, Weird Science. You don't see people walking around looking like Rainbow Bright with neon colors. The neon in the 80s was mainly in kids' clothing, or if it was on teenagers and older clothing, it was always like separated with black and mute tones. It wasn't just Rainbow Bright like it gets made fun of today. So I like Stranger Things because of that. It stays realistic to the 80s. Feels like a John Carpenter, Steven Spielberg, Stephen King movie all rolled into one. It's awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, there's still a lot of people, my friends, that haven't seen it. It's got 80s actors in it, and the kids even look like they're from the 80s, if that is even possible, or if that makes sense. Especially the kid with the speech impediment. He looks like a male version of a little Drew Barrymore. That's all I got. I don't want to say too much because there's still people that haven't streamed it, that plan on streaming it. I don't want to spoil it, but if you like creature features, sci-fis from the 80s, you'll love Stranger Things. The first episode didn't catch me. First episode, I was a little bored, but the second episode and on, there's only 8 episodes, so it's a super fast binge watch if you do that. I hate binge watching things. I like to stretch it out and enjoy it.